Hello everyone, good evening. You're watching News Epicenter with me, Maria Shakil. The second wave continues to wreak havoc across the country, and no other state has been worse affected than Maharashtra, making it the epicenter of the COVID crisis again. With rising cases sparked by poor COVID discipline, hundreds of people refusing to follow norms, to wear masks and maintain social distancing, coupled with poor enforcement of regulation. Last night, the Chief Minister of Maharashtra took the call to implement a Janata curfew for 15 days till 7 a.m. on the 1st of May. Now, workplaces, hotels and eateries across the state will be shut till the 1st of May. Night curfews are in place from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m., but essential services including hospitals, pharmacies, vaccination centers, grocery stores, home delivery services, petrol pumps, ATMs, public transport, trains and flights will continue to operate. The state government's health infrastructure is completely overstretched. There are reports coming in of shortage of beds and there is major crunch in oxygen supply. The state does not have a great track record of enforcing COVID regulation either. Because of this rise, which is evident, double mutant strain is making matters worse. The question remains, will the Janata curfew entail strict enforcement to control crowds? Will it truly help control the surge in cases? Or will it only lead to the hampering of economic activities which the country cannot afford anymore? Joining me on the show, Sanjay Agarwal, President, PhD, Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Dr. Rahul Pandit, member, Maharashtra COVID Task Force, Shankar Iyer, author and economist, Aslam Sheikh, Mumbai's Guardian Minister. Aslam, the finance minister today ruled out a nationwide lockdown, giving the economic fallout, given the fact that it has a major economic fallout. Don't you think Mumbai, being the financial capital, could have looked at micro-containment strategy rather than this kind of 15-day blanket curfew?
If you go to see, we kept everything in mind. As I told you, we took everybody's suggestion and we tried our best how we can curb on this. So we have given permission for the industries which they have their in campus, if they have the capacity to keep their workers, their laborers and all. We have allowed all the transportation to go on 50% basis. Only restriction has been given to the people who used to come out unnecessarily. And see, essential things also, we have increased so many things in the hotel industry also. We have restricted people to come over there, but takeaway is going on 24 hours. So whatever best we could do, we are doing on that. But I will tell you today, keep it on record, in coming days, the other states are going to be more worse, because after taking so much of interest and after taking so much of precautions and trying the best, every parameter was used for tracking the coronas. Local level also and international also, we were following us. We kept our task force completely ready and working and monitoring everything. I think so this was the only solution to break the chain. And the other state which was not following these parameters are going to face much more harder times of what we are facing now.
Okay, Dr. Rahul Pandit, you're a member of Maharashtra COVID Task Force. You and I have been talking a lot about the COVID fatigue that had set in and then this sudden surge that Maharashtra is witnessing. Maharashtra carried the highest caseload in the first wave. It is again, responsible for 60% of the cases here in India. What really is going wrong overall as far as the state's corona management is concerned?
I don't think there is anything going wrong, Maya. The most important thing we need to look at is that Maharashtra is one of the most industrialized and developed state in the country, which has a population which is very, very densely spread across the state. So some places like Mumbai actually have a very high density of population. And we have a lot of people coming in and going out of the state for employment as well. That's one of the reasons why we always see that the industrialized the states or the industrialized countries in the Europe also had this kind of rise which was seen. And it's not necessarily that anything has gone wrong. Yes, what we could have perhaps done, and that is the retrospective vision, is that when the cases actually went down, that was a time to actually double or triple up the testing and tracing strategy. That's one thing certainly I think which we need to do now. When the cases do go down in the second wave, we should probably have the testing and tracing strategy ramped up to maybe double the numbers of what we are doing right now. That way, what will happen is that we'll be able to micro contain even a small spurt of cases coming from a small geographical area, and we'll be able to contain it there itself. That's one thing we could do. The second thing which I think we need to do is the corona appropriate behavior, as all of us know, has been actually poorly adhered to across the country. It's not something which only Mumbai has, but when it happens in a densely populated area like Mumbai, when you actually travel in local trains, when you travel in the crowded buses, which no other place in the country actually has that kind of a
But
density of
then, Dr. Pandit, what will this uh, Janta curfew really achieve when the locals will continue to function? The
so the local
transport has not been stopped.
the transport has not been stopped because the honorable minister who is on the panel right now, Aslam Bhai, he also said that there is a need to keep the economy running as much as it can. And I'm sure the government had a very difficult time balancing both the things. They had a chat with the task force. They spoke with the medical experts. They spoke with the finance experts. They spoke. I'm sure they have spoken with the religious and the social aspects as well. And they have spoken with the all political parties as well. So it's been a very I think it's a very reasonable solution that they have come out
Okay.
with. As doctors, I would say that, and I'm not trying to mix politics here at all. I think if we can bring down the crowds even by 50 or 70%, somewhere in that line, I'm not saying 100% lockdown, 50 to 70%, I think we'll still achieve a lot more.
Yes,
Another thing,
it's a
just one
tightrope
second.
walk for most governments. Dr. Pandit, I'm going to come back to you. Shankar Iyer, just when India seemed poised for a gradual recovery, as IMF and agencies across the world were projecting, will this second wave, which seems more virulent than the first one, dampen things?
Well, the virulence has been fueled by virulent politics. I mean, public behavior is emboldened by political behavior. If you look across the country, in February when the budget was presented, and a reasonable good budget, it created a lot of goodwill and a feel-good factor. And thereafter, you saw 7 to 9 weeks of management time, political attention, policy attention, sort of they took their eyes off the ball. Now, this is, I don't need to answer or tell you what the economic impact would be. The scenes outside Lokmanya Tilak terminus in
Yes.
Mumbai represent what is happening. It is all fine for the Zoom caller class to stay at home and work from home, but a large part of the economy will be affected. Yes, factories have been allowed to continue manufacturing given various caveats and conditions, but what happens to the consumption of those products? That's the question. Now, specifically, the issue of virulence, I don't know whether there was any assessment done whether whom should be people from India.
Shankar, I'll try and fix your audio and come back to you. Sanjay Agarwal, the impact of this kind of curfew on small and marginal businesses. Let me give you a small example here. You know, there are around 18,000 garment factories in Maharashtra, 10,000 of which are in Mumbai alone. The garment industry employs 1.3 million people in the state. What happens to them? These images that are coming from various stations are certainly a matter of concern. How can you continue to assure them when they realize that there is an emergency of this nature, where lockdown, though for 15 days, with certain relaxations, mean that their livelihoods will suffer? Mr. Agarwal. Sanjay
So
Agarwal.
I got
Yes.
temporarily disconnected. No, I understood what you're saying. The issue is, I would speak in general terms, not about the specific issue, but you see, in general terms, any lockdown is damaging to the economy, and we have seen that to our horror in the first quarter of last financial year also, when we had an absolute lockdown during the month of April. I think what is required is to be careful about the mask and the testing and the quarantining, which is the most important part. In Mumbai or Maharashtra, unfortunately, the situation having gone out of hand, the authorities thought it fit to have a 2-week lockdown. But let us all be very sure that every lockdown has a huge economic cost. Uh, I think the government is being very careful in minimizing at least that damage, in the sense that transportation and delivery of goods at least is not being hampered along with the necessary or the essential items. But still, there is definitely a huge damage to the economy, and I think the best is that we have to be as careful as possible about the social distancing, about mask, and
Mr.
about the
Agarwal,
testing regimen.
do you get this sense that it is the small and the marginal businesses, the kirana shop owners, they are the ones who suffer the most?
The small and the marginal businesses, of course, are the one having the least wherewithal to face up to these sort of crises. Their liabilities come on their heads, but the cash flow is not coming in, and the banking system can only do that much, to which they are actually having a relationship with the bank. In most cases, for small businesses, even the relationship is not there. So they are basically on a day-to-day survival mode. And in this situation where you have a 2 weeks lockdown situation,
Yes.
of course, it is not only the immediate damage, but the sentiment damage or the long-term damage which happens because of the migrant labor going away,
Yes,
for
so it's
example.
a ripple effect, certainly. The migrants going away, how do you open the factories post that? So it's a cascading effect that happens. I mean, Aslam, that brings me to the next question, and this is the question that I asked Dr. Rahul Pandit as well. Maharashtra during the first wave had the highest number of cases. Again, during the second wave, it's carrying India's highest caseload. Isn't this colossal mismanagement?
Actually, this is very interesting question, and even I have told my task force to find out what is the reason why only Mumbai and Maharashtra is having so many cases. Why not West Bengal is having? Why not Kerala is having? Why not other states where the people are coming in large, in thousands of numbers, in lakhs of numbers, and there the corona cases are not coming? Why in Mumbai only it's coming? Secondly, if you go to see, when the cases came first time in India and we were the most who were affected was the Mumbai. But the measure which we took, we started the parameter we took, and we curbed the corona very well, and it was appreciated by the ICMR as well as the WHO also, and they told the other countries also to follow the parameter which we took to control this pandemic time. Now the thing is that we have to see that Mumbai is a different in a geographical map. If you go to see, there are so many of slums, more than 50% of slums are there, and in these slums there are common taps, there are common toilets, where one toilet has been used by more than 10 families, one common tap has been used by more than 15 families to take the water. So working in these circumstances, we have come forward and we have not stopped working day and night, and whatever best we could do, we have done it. And right now what I feel like the center has to do the best management, because if you see today what is the condition of Maharashtra, 10 times more worse condition is going to happen to with other states also, because they are not ready for it. They are not ready with their jumbo facilities, they are not ready for the testing.
You
they
are
are not
more prepared
thinking
than others
about what's going to happen. Like if you go to see in Uttar Pradesh, they have opened up for the religious functions and all, where lakhs of people are coming together in
Aslam,
large. And what will happen if these numbers are going to be in more?
But Aslam, the question is that you are saying that other states will be far worse affected than you are better prepared. My question is this going to be only for 15 days? With the rate at which the cases are rising, how much of 15-day lockdown, how much will it really achieve? Is there a possibility of it getting extended?
See, when we started with that weekend curfew, sort of restriction more harder, not curfew, break the chain, and the night curfew which was imposed, the cases started dipping. So the numbers what we wanted was not the one we were getting it. I can definitely tell you in another 15 days, the numbers what we are getting is going to come to 30%. And by the time our infrastructure, what we are supposed to make for Mumbai and other cities also. In Mumbai itself, we are coming up with 4 more jumbo facilities where we are going to have more than 5,300 beds and all, and infrastructure for the health is going to be ready. But the main concern right now, what I feel across the country which is going to face is the oxygen. Oxygen is going to be the main concern across the country, because whatever we are making in the state is completely being used for this COVID only.
Okay.
So same way, if the cases arise in the nearby states also, then it will be a difficult
Dr.
situation for
Rahul
the
Pandit
country.
talking specifically about oxygen supply. Yes, there is shortage in Maharashtra. Similar reports are coming from other states as well. The question is, why didn't Maharashtra in all of these 8-9 months really ramp up its health infrastructure?
So again, I would come up to the point that the rate at which the cases have gone up have been phenomenally rapid and high. Nowhere else in the world have we seen such a sharp rise of cases to the reaching to the point that we have seen in Mumbai and Maharashtra. And the health preparedness was not less. We have 20,000 beds in Mumbai right now. Similarly, all the other district collectors and all the other cities have got ramped up their bed allocation and everything. But what remains constant is the number of doctors, nurses, and healthcare workers. You will not be able to increase them overnight, not even in 8 or 10 months. You cannot have intensivists, you cannot have doctors suddenly come out. But even with the medical students and interns roped in to do the second front line jobs, we are still finding it difficult to actually have the human resources which is coming up, which is the main problem which is being faced up right now, along with the oxygen.
Okay, let me give the final words to Shankar Iyer. Mr. Iyer, you were making a point. Yes, several people, a select few I would say, can go online and hold meetings through Zoom, but it's the poorest of the poor who will be impacted, no matter what we may say.
Of course, the nature of the lockdown or the Janta curfew. The Janta curfew is, in Maharashtra we have a very famous dish called misal, which has a bit of this and bit of that. So this Janta curfew, they have taken suggestions from a whole lot of people and put together a Janta curfew. Now the question is, we don't know how much the night curfew worked. We don't know what the plan is. The reason why Maharashtra is facing this is because the government took its eyes off the ball. What happens during a surge of cases, it depends on what you do before and what you do after. Clearly, testing was inadequate. Clearly, contact tracing has been poor. And I cannot understand why by-elections should be such a special thing. Why should the by-elections in Pandharpur or wherever escape the Janta curfew? I mean, this is the kind of political example that leaders are setting, which leads to people's inappropriate COVID behavior. And this is the problem not just in Maharashtra, but this is the problem elsewhere. And the sad part is, I was listening to Mr. Sheikh and his point about what's happening in other states. The question is, are we to measure ourselves on how badly others are doing, or are we to measure ourselves on how well we do? Maharashtra is India's largest industrialized state. It is densely populated. All of this is known. So I hope that in the next 15 days, the government gets its act together. The government puts together a proper, robust contact tracing program. And I really hope for the people of Maharashtra that this is gone. There are people I'm in Pune and your show is called The Epicenter, but really Pune is the epicenter. And there are people who don't know where to go for testing.
Yes,
there are WhatsApp messages.
I agree with you, Shankar. It's really depressing the kind of reports are coming from all over, from several parts of Maharashtra and in India in general. Shankar, the question that I had asked, and before the audio became very choppy, the IMF says that the current surge in infections present a worrisome downside risk revision for India. And this is coming after there was a lot of promise displayed that there will be normalization restored in the economy, and the overall there will be more growth friendly fiscal policy is what the IMF had said then. Now with this kind of lockdown being reported from the financial capital, what does it mean?
I think that we are looking at a downside risk very clearly. We may not see it reflected in the output of the large companies. The big companies, the organized sector can sort of take care of.
All right.